Finding plants to go in the shade mid to late summer. This is what this is all about. Hello, I'm Rosie Hardy. This is Rosie Hardy Gardening. Now, I love shade planting because you walk into a shady area. One, it's always cooler and it just seems to be that much more calming. And that is probably because of the plant material that it is possible to grow in the shade is just that little bit more subtle, except that in this little selection I have the odd pop of colour. So let's start at the far end. We have this beautiful fern here, Dryopteris erythrosora, and when it is putting on its new fronds, so the brand new leaves here, they come out with this beautiful bronzy orange colour, really fantastic. Now these are going to turn green, the older foliage here is green, but that combination, that contrast, and it's always putting on the odd new growth, and it is lovely. These ones will turn green over time, but they make a really good structural leafy plant for the front edge of a walkway in the shade, and they are fantastic. It is a semi-evergreen type and really good. There are some lovely little young fronds just starting to come through here. They're so cute. I mean, they look hardly anything like these bigger open fronds here, but they are just wonderful. There is something fantastic about looking and seeing the unfurling fronds of a fern. I just love it. So we move on from that to this beautiful red Alstroemeria at the back here. This has got strong burgundy stems which goes up to these incredible long tubes which are red with a green tip and black markings. This is Alstroemeria psittacina, and the Alstroemerias actually like to be in woodland areas. That's where they are happy. So a good amount of organic matter at the base, and they'll spread and make reasonably big clumps. This form, as with all of the Alstroemerias, as soon as you get dead heads, pull out the whole stem, don't cut it back. Pulling it out will encourage it to put on more flower. Again, the same if it's got dead and dying foliage. Again, just pull it out and it will just keep on putting on new stuff there. So that is really good, and they shouldn't need staking. They hold themselves up really well. You're talking about a plant that can get to just under 1 metre high, so 3 feet tall with its flowers. Usually it's slightly lower than that, and then it's going to go across by about 2 feet, 60 centimetres, so it's going to make a good stance. You will notice I've got the plants a little bit more spaced out on this demonstration bench today. That's because I have taken big 3-litre pots. Now here in the UK we go by literage. A 3-litre pot, it is 19 centimetres across the diameter here. That's just about an 8-inch pot. So I know in some places like the USA you do in gallons. We don't, we do in litres. So I'm just trying to give you an idea of the size of the pot that I'm doing here. So I have put these in at spacing that I would suggest that you could put the plants in to start off a border. If you were putting this size of plant in straight away, they will then fill up the gaps in between. It will fill up quite quickly. That will mean that after 2 to 3 years you will be lifting and dividing and moving stuff around. If you don't want to have to lift and divide that quickly, then space them a little bit further. But if you do the spacing further, you leave entrance for unwanted plants to get in. So this way you cover the ground. Then at the front here we've got this incredible Rmania. This is Rmania Walburton's Magic Dragon. Now Rmania Walburton's Magic Dragon was bred to be just a little bit stronger than the straight species Rmania elata. It creeps a little bit on the ground, it likes a shady spot. So all of these will go in reasonable shade. Some of them it's part shade, but they will take a reasonable amount of shade. So the Rmania Magic Dragon, this one has already done its first lot of flowering. It's been given a cut back and hey presto, it comes back up again. So that is something. It's a short-lived perennial because it flowers and flowers and flowers. And when something flowers so much, it can then just make it a slightly weaker plant. So somewhere around about 4 years, I would expect you to have it. So at the same time as you would be lifting and splitting this, you might be needing to put a new plant in there, but then that is a chance to put something different in perhaps. Then we move on to this. This is Eurybia, Eurybia divaricata. This is one of my staples for shade planting. I love it. It's a brilliant plant. It's reliable, it is strong, and it has these lovely burgundy wiry stems which hold up the rays of beautiful white daisy flowers that are going to go on the top here. It's going to flower from usually end of July, so all the way through August, September it's in flower. It's a really good for the middle late summer, and it makes big clumps. So this is at the back here. It's hold itself up well, especially if you get the right clone. Sometimes you will get some which people have done from seed and they're not as good as ones which are done from divisions. So that is just something to ask when you're buying a plant. But this is used to be Aster. It's Eurybia divaricata, great for shade, holds itself up, no problem at all. Then at the front here we've got a hosta. I have put on a hosta here straight off the nursery. It's probably looking a little bit like yours are. There are a few holes in the leaf. That happens. You know, it's not detracting in any way because it's not completely lost its leaf. So I've put it on in freeze. I've put it on here in purpose because just to show that even here on the nursery we do get slug and snail damage. This one is Hosta Cherry Berry, and it has beautiful variegated foliage, and then when the flower stems come up, it's got these lovely red to purple flower stems, and then the flowers are a lilac purple on top of that. So not only do you get the variegation, you've got a fantastic flower as well. And a lot of people forget about the flower on hostas. It is just as important as the foliage, and that will love a shady spot. It's not a very tall one, so that is great. Now, forgot to tell you the heights and spreads on these two. So Rmania is going to get to a foot, maybe 18 inches across, so that is 30 centimetres to 45 centimetres, height wise up to 2 feet, up to 60 centimetres. The Eurybia is going to get to 2.5 feet, so that is 80 to 90 centimetres across, and then height wise about 2 foot, so 60 centimetres. Patrinia scabiosifolia. This is a fabulous umbel for a shady spot. Now this particular plant, it should technically be up here, flowering at that sort of height. So we're talking about a height of 1.20 m at least, 4 feet. The reason why this particular one isn't up there is that it lost its first leader, but it shows you that if it does lose the first bit, it still comes up and flowers really well. That's a little bit like doing a Chelsea chop, but I don't think it was done on purpose. This has fabulous lemon yellow umbel flat heads, and then once the flowers finish you get seeds attached to the bottom, and they're green, and you get this lovely soft lemon yellow with the green undertones all the way through the plant. Once it's finished flowering, those seed heads look absolutely stunning and are really good and architectural. It is a hollow stemmed plant, so don't cut it right the way down, let it fall and collapse for the winter time. Because it's a species, you can get seedlings around, but it's unlikely to do a lot, and unlike a lot of other Patrinia that can run around, this is a clumper, so you are only going to get something that gets about 18 inches, 45 centimetres at the base, and then up to the 1.24 m in height. A really good plant that just lightens up because of this soft colour, so in a shady spot it is a really good thing, and it's a lovely strong stem, so it holds itself up nicely. You've then got this lovely tall plant here. Now this is a Bistorta amplexicaulis albiflora, and this is a wonderful white flowering Bistorta. Unlike the other Bistortas with the red or the pink flowers, which get huge big mounds of foliage at the bottom, this tends to not get as much foliage really high up. It stays with the foliage lower down. Now I'm not saying this doesn't become a large clump, because it certainly still grows and makes a big clump. So after 3 years you'd expect it to be somewhere between 2.5 feet to 3 feet, so that is anywhere between 70 and a metre around as a clump. So you do need to be dividing these quite regularly. And then the flower stems go up, and they're really elegant flower stems. They go up and they split and they branch, and you get these wonderful white flowers at the end. and they wave in the breeze, so that is beautiful. They also go out, so they're really architectural, they're light, they're airy. I just love the way they go up. They hold themselves up, they do not collapse. So you get all of this lovely growth going up through here. They are attractants for pollinators again, so that is always good, and you get different pollinators in a shady spot. A lot of the pollinators you'll get in the shade will be moths, there'll be hoverflies, there'll be other flies, and there'll be beetles. Occasionally you get the odd wood bee or wood wasp as well that comes in. So that is what you want. You want diversity of plant material to give you diversity of insect life. Once you've got the insects, you get the bird life. You know, it all works. And these plants are great. They will love this sort of shady area, and it gives you that extra height and dimension. It's a spike where we've had flats and we've had daisies and we've had, you know, a bit of bright spark there. In front of this, I've got this wonderful grass. This is Melica, Melica, and this one is uniflora albida. And the thing about this is it's been in flower or had flower on it since May. So May, June, July, we're in August now. That's a good stretch of time, and it is a woodland ground covering grass. So it will creep around, so it will fill in all the gaps all around here, and it won't undermine the fact that you've got these big plants, because it will just move around wherever there is a space. If you don't want it moving around too much, or it's seeding a little bit too much, then just dig up what's there, and dig up and split. It's a really good, easy plant to grow, but I think because it's got such a long time of showing you all of this and the grass stems there, I think it's a fabulous grass to grow because it loves the shade. Then we move on to the two at the end here, and we've got a really beautiful leafed plant here. This is Brunnera, Brunnera alexanders, great. Look at the size of these leaves. I mean, you know, bigger than my hand. They're absolutely wonderful. The usual heart-shaped leaf with this fabulous silvering and veining on the leaf. It looks great. And can you hear that? It is hairy. The stems are hairy. That means it doesn't get eaten by the slugs and snails like your hosta can. And this is a plant that I tend to say to people, utilise these as a hosta, because you've got this beautiful foliage. Yes, they don't flower in the later season, but they flowered in the spring with lovely forget-me-not blue flowers which come over the top. Now this makes a big clump, Alexander's great, so it can go up to about 45 centimetres tall, but probably about 60 centimetres wide, so it's 18 inches by 2 feet. That is a great big expanse in a shady area and looking really good. It's a totally different shape from the grass or the hosta or the Rmania, and this is what you want to be doing in your shady areas. You want these changes in form as well as having the colour and the flower, because then it gives you interest. Lastly, we come to this one. This is Hylotelephium Sunkissed. Now with a name like that, you'd expect this to be in the sun, in full sun, and that's usually where you would put this sort of plant. But over the last couple of years, since we've potted the small pots up into bigger containers and put them down in a shady area in the nursery, these have done far better. So now I am suggesting to people that you actually put these in the shade. Some plants can be pushed out of where you would normally expect them to go. Look at this wonderful round head. It is a soft yellow green. It's really lovely. And having stood here for a while, I'm sort of thinking there's a perfume, and it's got a really sweet perfume, which is fantastic. So it's encouraging pollinators to it. But also, if you've got a perfume on a plant in a shady area, that's really lovely, because you walk into the shade, you get that perfume, and it is wonderful. So if you think about a shady area and just having mounds and bits of upright and different colours, then you are going to create a really beautiful area for, and all of this lot will fill up and make a good, lovely, full border for later in the summer. Thank you very much for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel. If you want to watch another video of mine, YouTube thinks this one is perfect for you.